Alright, so it's time for lesson 2, which is, okay, I don't want to call it the unnatural scale because I don't know if you're supposed to say that word, but let's just call it the others. Sounds very ominous, doesn't it? So the others. What do you mean by the others? Now, let's observe something. In the natural scale, there are two points, like defining points, which are also called the resolution points that I had talked about in the previous lesson, which tell you something about this natural scale. What do they tell you? They tell you that these 2 points, which are the half note points, and then observe the distance between these 2 points. It's the first and fifth distance. However, if you invert it, if you go to the G to G mode, then what is the distance? It's 4. It's a fourth difference, correct? So the distance between these 2 resolution points is only either a fifth distance or a fourth distance. What do I mean by the fifth and the fourth distances? Basically that the first resolution point occurs here, and if you go to the fifth node of this, then the second resolution point occurs here. But if you take the other windows, like the G to G mode or the A to A mode, right? If the first half distance occurs here, then the second half distance occurs after the fourth node. This is the second, so 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So it's only going to be fifth or fourth. Therefore, there is a limited amount of possibilities that you will get with the natural scale, which we explored last time. C to C, D to D, E to E, F to F, G to G, A to A. I have not yet covered the B to B. You might be wondering why. Because I will cover it in the others. Because this scale is a little unnatural. Okay, I said it. I said the word. So now what about the other scales? Well, the experiment that happened was keeping the resolution points at a distance of a third away from each other. How will that work? Let's construct the scale ourselves. That is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to just play my major and change the second resolution point and bring it closer to make it at a third distance. So what I'll do is I play my major. Here it is. Here's my resolution point. Now from here, I need to go to the third note. So 1, 2, 3. Now the experiment is to put that half distance resolution point from here. So I'm putting it here. Now to go to the root. There are lots of routes I can take. However, the most natural way, which is without having 2 consecutive half notes in the scale, is this. What does the scale become then? Okay, so this is a mode of the melodic minor scale. Now I'll tell you because why is it a mode? Because if you take the same scale from here, this is the melodic minor scale in Western. This is also called Charukeshi in both Carnatic and Hindustani, and it's a really beautiful scale because it conveys the sweetness of the major scale and also the pain of the minor. So this gives you a kind of melancholic feeling that none of the other modes, none of the other scales will be able to give you, because the resolution points are located at a third distance away from each other. What happens when we switch the window? For example, in this, if we take it from the F to F. Now they're at a 7th distance from each other because the cycle is different. So it's the 3rd and the 7th distance pair instead of the 5th and the 4th distance pair. That is how you get a major minor mixed scale, which is Charukeshi. And it's also Patdeep, I think, in Hindustani, this one. I mean, Patdeep is not exactly this, it's actually... Because the raga is not exactly... I'll come to ragas later, but just keep in mind that these are the two scales that you get. Just modes of each other. I mean, you can take different modes too, but you get slightly awkward scales. What do I mean by awkward scales? Scales in which the root does not have a corresponding 5th. Right? If you are playing this same scale from D, we'd expect to have your per or your 5th in this scale, which is the A. But it won't exist. Why? Because the scale is... There is no per in this. So there is the fundamental harmony of the 5th does not exist for the root itself. That is why this scale is not used. This scale is not popular. In this scale also the number of 1st, 5th harmonics are less. Why? Because the note D does not have a corresponding 5th. E neither does not. F does. Which is C again. This does. This doesn't. This doesn't. Again. In contrast to the natural scales, where each note was a 5th harmonic of the other note. Here, that harmony does not exist except for the root and the 5th. But since it exists for the root and the 5th, this scale can be used. And in fact, it is this missing 5th which gives you that pain. The contrasting feeling between two halves of the same scale. Now, so these are the resolution points that were changed. There's another way to get a new scale. You will observe that in all of these scales that we explored till now, including the natural scale and the modes of this other scale, distance between any notes, the consecutive ones, is either a full note or a half note. Correct? Because that's how the scale is constructed. It's either a full note or a half note. Or a full note. What happens when we try to increase this distance between two consecutive notes? What happens when we try to have an interval of, say, a 1.5 note between two notes? Can we put that? Let's try to put that in a scale. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a simple minor. Let's take a simple minor from C. Not from A, from C. So from C, what will a simple minor look like? This is the simple minor scale. Again, don't get confused. As you can observe, it's just the relative minor of your E flat major. here what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the distance between the 6th and the 7th and make it 1.5 instead of the one that is currently now. So what happens when I make this distance 1.5? So the 7th comes here, right? 1.5. Everything else is the same. So now let's listen to the scale. Everything changed. The entire feeling of the scale changed. There's a whole kind of different world of pain in the scale. And in Hindustani and Carnatic also, this is called the Keeravani scale. Keeravani. And in Western, this is called the harmonic minor scale. I may have gotten the names mixed up, but again, as I stress again and again, names are not important. Just imbibe the feeling, the sound of the scale. Again, this scale is valid. I mean, this scale will not sound bad because the 1st and the 5th have their 5ths. The 1st has this, the 5th has this. This note does not have a corresponding 5th. But this note also has a corresponding 5th in the minor scale. What we did was we changed this 5th to this. So even this note now does not have its corresponding 5th in this Keeravani scale. Right? That is why it will sound a little unnatural. But that's what gives this scale its peculiarity, its feeling. This again has its 5th, of course. This too. This also. But if you try to take a mode of this scale, again there's no corresponding 5th here. Again, it does not mean that this scale is not valid. These are all just rules, made up by 16th century people, that a scale should have the 1st and the 5th of the root and the 5th. If the root does not have its 5th and the 5th does not have its corresponding 5th, then the scale will sound unnatural. But again, genres like jazz and progressive scales, they completely defy these rules too. There is no concept of a root and a 5th. It's just relationship between notes. All of these constructs then become choices and not really rules. So we saw the other scales in this lesson, and in the third lesson, it'll be a very short lesson. We'll just explore what scales mean in different systems and how ragas are a subset of these scales. Thank you.